character.
Yeah, I would say, yeah. I mean, as actors, like we were saying in the last panel, as actors, do what?
Yeah, repeat the question.
Yes. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, the question was, do we have any say in who has the final say in the overall feel or of the character? Does the actor get to, you know, have any input or impact as to how the character sounds or is voiced? And the answer is yes. As actors, we all kind of put a little bit of ourselves and our acting style into the characters that we play. So there's always going to be a little bit of ourselves in the voice, but it's also a collaboration because, like he was saying, a lot of times we're coming in and we're recording in an environment where we don't, a lot of times we're going to be recording alone, and usually, especially with video games, at least in my experience, you don't ever get to hear any of the other people that have recorded before you, especially if the character that you're voicing doesn't necessarily interact with anybody. So it's all on you to be able to get the performance out and make it sound like this character is interacting with other people. It's the director's job then to give you the context of the scene and where you are in the story and what's going on around you so that you can have that complete picture, even though you're not playing off of everybody else and you're not necessarily, you're not getting to see the entire story unfold in front of you. You're only getting bits and pieces as your character gets bits and pieces.
Yeah, there's a lot of on-camera actors that do extremely well in voiceover, and there are a number of on-camera actors. I've had to replace a few on some projects where they hired them because they're great on television, but once they get in the booth, they don't have a set to work off of. They don't have a costume to get them into character. They don't have other actors to play off of, and they have a hard time performing in the booth what they do on camera and on screen all the time. And so it's in itself a very different skill set in being able to get into character and deliver a believable performance with very, very little at your disposal other than your imagination and a handful of lines of context.
And just follow up, have you ever like crashed with one of those? Like,
have you ever clashed with any of the directors?
Yeah, right. And if so, can you give an example?
It's rare. It's very rare. It's always, you try and make it a collaborative process. You're all trying to work together to make a good final product. Sometimes your decisions might differ from the director, but ultimately, they hired you. And so you want to give them what they want, even if you might not agree with it. And you can voice your concerns, but you have to do it in a constructive, you know, well, I was thinking about maybe trying this, or what do you think about this for the character? Sometimes they're like, oh yeah, that's good, yeah, try that. And they'll go for, you know, a little more collaborative things. Sometimes they'll be like, no, we're good, we got it. And you're like, okay. Or even worse, they'll give you weird direction, like you'll read a line, like you read it and the scene context seems really intense and emotional, like you just kind of let it simmer, like, okay, that's good, let's try it again, this time much happier. Like, his sister's dying. It's like, yeah, but you know, the emotions are hard for him to control, and like it excites him, like, what? You know, and you try and you're like, okay. I'm so sorry you're gone, I'll avenge you! Oh, that was awful. And they're like, that's great, moving on. Like, no. It's rare.
Yeah, it is very rare.
It's rare.
Thankfully, it's very rare. Yeah, usually you'll be in a very collaborative environment. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's the director has the final say.
Yeah. I will say, do you want to move to a lineup question and answer thing?
Oh, the microphone.
Or I can just go around with the mic.
Yeah, let's go around with the mic if we can, that way, because I like to give you a little workout. Well,
is it wireless? No.
Oh, it's not wireless.
Yeah, we should probably have.
We should have it up here then.
If you have a question, please come up to this microphone.
Line up right here at the front, and we'll take your questions and the answer in which you're standing.
Okay, but you must line up in slow motion.
Slow motion.
Go.
Slow motion.
Okay, now line up with jazz hands.
You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
The power. The overwhelming power.
No one should have this power.
Hello. Yes.
Recording experience.
There we go. Okay. So what is our best recording experience and our worst recording experience?
My worst recording experience was on a show, actually on two different shows, for the same director, because we had the same technical issue. For Future Diary and for, but I mean, I know but this is a gaming Yeah, okay, for video games. Let's see. I really don't have any like bad experience, and I'm still somewhat new to video game voice work. I've only been doing it for a couple of years. But like in my experience, everything so far has been great. Easily my favorite and my best recording moments were in Tales of Xillia, or in 2, because there's just I got to play around. I don't want to go into too much detail just in case I'm spoiling anything. But just playing the duality of the character was a lot of fun. So.
As far as bad experiences, I'm not going to name the project, but essentially what I just mentioned to answer the last question, that was a really rough experience. The final product turned out okay, but I didn't agree with some of the direction on that. But you just kind of eat it and go home and be like, well, that one didn't work out. As far as best experiences, I'm going to define it in 2 different ways. I have the projects that I've worked on that I'm just a fanboy for anyway, and regardless of whether or not the session was great, I just getting to be a part of that universe I was really excited about. And I can't talk about them because a lot of these projects haven't been announced yet, but there's some cool announcements coming up in the next few months that you guys should keep track of my Twitter for, which is at Matthew Mercer. Anyway. Secondly, as far as like actually really thoroughly enjoyed the process and was really fulfilling for me, I got to work on the PS4 game Knack. It was one of the launch titles where I got to play the leader of the Goblin army called Gundahar. It was like a Loki type Goblin character. We did all the full motion capture, face capture for that, and so I'm used to playing a lot of characters that aren't quite like bestial in nature or like creature-like. So being able to find a physicality that was goblinoid, but like well-learned goblinoid, and powerful, and still gravelly and very militant leader of the goblins, but more classically taught, I guess. I don't know, it was just a really cool character, really cool dynamic, and I got to work with like a bunch of friends of mine, like Laura Bailey and Travis Willingham and J.B. Blanc, and we all got to just play around in the mocap stage being people and goblins, and that was a lot of fun to work with. But that project did have 2 directors, which was, got a little tense at times when they had conflicting ideas, but it was a lot of fun. Resident Evil. Oh, Resident Evil's a fanboy dream in me anyway. I love Leon in the previous title, so being able to step into those shoes, I was like, oh yeah! Next question. You are back.
So, can you kind of describe your feelings when it was like the voice Crom's confession of Fire Emblem?
Just got real.
To voice Crom's confession of Fire Emblem Awakening. Patrick Seitz, who was directing that, made sure to make it as awkward as possible. That's what he does.
This is about beer.
Did I fall in love with Crom too? A little bit every time. Do you? I do too. That's weird. But yeah, no, it was one of those, like, after doing all these heroic scenes and stuff, we're going through the script, we're doing the battle noises, and we're doing, like, the funny skits and, like, little reactions, and then we get to this one long block of text, and I'm reading through it, I'm like, wait a second. This is like a love confession? He's like, yeah, you can marry him off. I'm like, oh, that's right, Fire Emblem, okay. Okay, he's like, just make sure you don't break eye contact with me. I'm like, I want you to look into my eyes the whole time. Oh my God. I'm your director. You have to listen to me. And so my first take on that was looking at Patrick through the glass going, you want the wind at my back? Go inside. Oh, so very. You're just running the whole time. It was fun. So that was interesting, but it's been fun. It was fun to try and play off that silly romantic shonen, cherry blossoms in the air type soft voice, 97.1 The Wave type voice. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I can't speak very well, but I wanted to ask you, like, do you have any tips for anyone that wants to become a voice actor or go into the industry?
Primarily, the first and foremost thing you need to concentrate on is acting. The performance element of voiceover is the 85% of it. That is the basis of everything. It's being able to receive a script, to receive copy, and immediately understand like how the scene breakdown and structure is, how the character structure is, how to cold read a scene, how to, understanding that when you read a scene, you have to also understand the scene before and the scene after. You have to understand what the character's, drive is, what they're trying to accomplish, what the subtext of their personality is, and being comfortable performing all of these notes that you have to kind of spot read as you go. And all that comes from experience in theater, experience in film class. Like, all these wonderful things all culminate into a really solid basic performance ability. And then you layer the voice itself on top of that. So my first and biggest suggestion is just train to be an actor.
Yep, absolutely. Really, that's the best thing that you can do. The more experience that you have under your belt, you know, the more prepared you'll be when you go into audition. Because when you go into audition, I mean, you get one shot.
Yeah.
If you blow it, then it's gone.
Yeah.
So, the other really important thing to remember is don't try to shoehorn yourself into just one aspect of acting. Don't just say, I just want to be a voice actor. If you want to go into the world of acting, putting yourself into such a niche is the quickest way to shoot yourself in the foot and close all sorts of doors. There are so many fields and pastures in the world of acting to go and play in, and like you might find that some grass in one pasture is a little greener than the other. And even you might find that stage is more to your liking, or you might find that helping out with stage. Like I guarantee, if you go to a community theater today, local, and you say that you want to start helping out, someone will hand you a paintbrush and get you to painting sets, or start building, give you a hand or whatever. And there's so many different things in the world of acting to experience and to explore.
The thing to keep in mind is it's a very competitive world.
Yes.
And to be competitive, you have to acquire every lesson and every edge you can to remain competitive. You know, to make a living at voiceover, you have to move to where the work is, and then you're up against people like me and Josh. You know, in which case, bring it.
Yeah.
But
I don't think I'll be going for the role.
I don't know. You'd be surprised what your range could be.
Scenario.
But you know, and keeping that in mind, and not trying to make it sound daunting. I'm just saying it's something that you have to take seriously, and you have to put the time and the effort and the work. I spent many years, you know, living in a tiny, you know, studio apartment in North Hollywood, eating ramen for dinner, and trying to get where I am now. You know, and that took a lot of hard work, a lot of perseverance, a lot of rejection. So you have to prepare for that by honing your craft and honing your mind to a world where rejection is going to be constantly in your face, and push through it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.